All right. Welcome, TAPPI members everywhere, to an exciting series of Q&A that will include 3 individuals that are making waves in the paper and allied industries. My name is Garrett Fisher, one of the primary moderators for this event. I'm very excited for everyone to be joining us. This series of Q&A will bring us an exclusive one-week look into the minds of these individuals with the hope of bringing about an open discussion between TAPPI members everywhere of what your answers to these questions might be and how we can apply some of these individuals' techniques in our own lives to better ourselves in the soft skill areas of leadership, communication, and relationships. During the event week, 5 separate Q&A videos with a designated speaker that week will be revealed on TAPPI Connect, where all members can then join in on a moderated discussion about each question, the answer, and how it relates to your life until the end of the week. This unique 5-day event each month is being brought to you by the TAPPI Young Professional Division, better known as the TAPPI YP Division. This week's guest is a YP that has already garnered much respect within his current paper mill in North Carolina for his unique leadership skills and handling of difficult situations. Please join me in welcoming John Edwards, a paper machine superintendent from Domtar and a recent recipient of the YP of the Year Award from TAPPI. John?
Hey guys, how's it going?
So John, the first 3 questions I have for you are specifically dedicated to learning more about your unique leadership skills and how they have helped you move into a leadership role so early in life. Kicking off this series of questions, I want to focus on a unique situation that I believe helped you foster some of your unique leadership skills. Specifically, when you found out that the machine you had been put in charge of was to permanently stop running shortly after you took the leadership position. Knowing that the end was coming in this situation, what tactics have you found most useful when trying to motivate individuals?
So I would say the first thing that that is really important for you to kind of get right in certain situations like that is you absolutely have to know your people. Because what's important to me may not be important to other people, may not be important to your machine tender, might not be important to your back tender. So you have to figure those things out. You have to understand what makes them tick and what drives them. And NC2 was kind of a unique operation in that we had at our mill we had 2 machines. We had NC5, which was by far the largest machine, and then NC2. And it only ran Monday through Friday, and we normally had the weekends off. Sometimes, though, we'd have to run on the weekends because we didn't make enough production and the stock tanks were too full going into the weekend. And that caused some issues because, number one, you've already announced that your machine is going down, so the workforce isn't necessarily pleased with that. And you only had 3 shifts. So what that meant is these people that were working 5 days would then just have to start working 7 days. And so for us, the most important thing was we needed to cram every single ton off the machine as possible. So that way we had the best shot of not having to work that weekend and kind of keep that morale up. So as I mentioned, we had 3 shifts that worked Monday through Friday. So we had 3 different machine tenders, and I really relied very heavily on our machine tenders to kind of drive the direction of the machine. And one of those areas, of course, was the machine speed. And the funny thing was they were 3 very different people. Like, I don't think they could have been more different in any way. 2 of them were had been machine tenders for a very long period of time. One of them actually came over from another area to help us out. And like I said, they were just very different individuals. But as I got to learn them, learn their personalities, understand, what's important to them, I found out that 2 of those guys really just kind of prided themselves on doing a really good job and making every single ton possible that they could. And when I first got over there, the question I kept getting asked was, how fast do you want to run? And I said, well, I didn't really understand that was a question because I think we should be running as fast as humanly possible, right? And that was fine for the two guys. In fact, they felt like, you know, some chains had been taken off of them, and so they were able to speed the machine up. And between those two shifts, they actually kind of competed a little bit to see who could make the most tons for those two shifts. But the third machine tender was very different from them in that he felt like the faster he ran, it would just cause issues for him because maybe he felt like the machine wouldn't be as stable, or he would just cause himself more issues in the long run, having machine breaks and things like that. And so for him, what really motivated him was he just wanted time off. Like he wanted his weekends back to spend with his family and things like that. And so, you know, there was a lot of things in the mill that we can't control. Like we can't control if the other machine goes down and the stock tanks, you know, the levels in them continue to grow and things like that. But we could control how many tons we made. And so just sitting down and having a conversation with him and saying, look, you know, we can control how many tons we make. And every single ton that you make on this machine is a ton closer to getting you out of the door on Friday. And so for him, you know, his motivation was completely different. He didn't really care ultimately how many tons we made, but in the core over the course of time, he did end up caring because he understood that if he made the maximum amount of tons possible, it gave him the best shot of being able to spend that weekend with his family. And I just think like knowing your people and understanding what they care about is just an invaluable tool, because you need that trust, and you absolutely have to garner that respect from the people. But you know, it just comes down to not everybody's out here for the same reason, and unless you spend the time to get to know your folks, you'll never get that.
Well, thanks for that, John. I think you and I would both agree that the paper industry can feel like a great big old family sometimes. So yeah, you definitely want to lean heavily on those relationships in those kind of situations. So John, continuing our discussion of your leadership skill development, my second question is, you referenced that everyone is the result of the people and influences in life in previous discussions with you. With that in mind, is it the people that you surround yourself with or the environment you create around yourself that has a bigger impact on your leadership skill development? So kind of a nature-nurture question here.
Yeah, so I would think, to me, that answer is very easy. I think it's absolutely the people. You're raised with your parents. Your parents raise you. Whoever your family is raises you. The community organizations that you join when you're a kid that you take part in, whether it's your church or different clubs, your school, your sports team, all of those things. And those people that are involved in those activities feed into who you ultimately become, I believe, and all the way through college um, and things like that. And I really do think that the best thing that you can do for yourself is recognize that as early as possible. Because if you can recognize that just as a high schooler, then you already have a huge head start above everybody else. Because a lot of times, you know, you kind of are who your friends are. So being able to pick and choose those groups of people is completely up to you, and it's completely your choice. And so it really starts in high school. Then going through college, you get to surround yourself with professors that you may see, you know, redeeming qualities in and things like that. And you kind of want to look for people that you ultimately want to become. Like if you're looking for, let's say, if you want to be a leader, you should surround yourself with people that you think are good leaders. If you want to be a technical expert, then you should try and surround yourself with people in your life that are subject matter experts in that regard, whether that be, like I said, professors or co-workers or possibly other students at the time. But it really comes down to picking and choosing those right people, because that's absolutely under your control. And let's say you're working in a company that, and I feel like I'm in a very good situation because I like to study leaders. I like to be around leaders. I like to learn from leaders. And I have a plethora of them working at my mill that I get to be around every day. And I think it's just a really good environment for me to be in. But I recognize that's not always the situation for everybody. Sometimes you might find yourself in a place where you don't have those types of people that you want to surround yourselves with. So you can look elsewhere. You can look within your community, in those different organizations. You can look toward TAPPI and the mentor match program. But I really think the key comes down to finding those types of people that you want to be like, and developing a relationship with them so that you can learn and grow and be nurtured by them.
Well, thanks for those thoughts, John. I definitely agree with you on that. Picking a side with the people perspective. I think what we're seeing is a common trend here with leadership and relationships are often very much tied together, and that trend's going to continue with this next question. Well, John, to finish out the conversation of your management journey, my third question is, you have in the past referenced your leadership of a very diverse team, PEs, supervisors, operators, a lot of different skill levels, a lot of different education levels. So how do you adjust your message and delivery when rolling out something new while still maintaining a consistent end message? An example I would have here is, you have a new cleaning schedule. You're going to add extra hours, development of procedures, safety concerns, PPE.
Yeah, so I'll answer that a little backwards. I think you have to start with the consistency portion of it, and I think the key is you have to have a clear and consistent why to your message, and that has to be the same regardless of who you're talking to, regardless of the operators, regardless of the shift supervisors and the process engineers that all work together to make it happen. The why has to be the same. If the why is not the same, then people just kind of get confused, and they all start working on something. They don't all understand why they're there. And your example is a really good one to talk about. And let's say we're going to install a new housekeeping or cleaning schedule. Why are we going to do that? Is going to be like their first question. And the answer is, well, for our mill, we need to keep it clean for our customers, and we need to keep it clean so that we have a safe work environment. Housekeeping definitely plays a role in safety. So, it comes down to two reasons: our customers and our safety as a workforce. But what does differ, I feel like, is kind of the roles and responsibilities of who does what in that. So kind of the how and what side of the question. So in that same example, housekeeping. So the operators are no doubt, especially in a union environment, the operators are going to be the ones that make it happen. They have to be the ones that do the cleaning. So they're going to do the cleaning. They're going to be the ones that ensure that it actually happens. The supervisors, on the other hand, they're kind of there to provide guidance and direction on how best to make it happen, whether they develop the schedule for their crew or sit down with the other shift supervisors to determine the most efficient way to get it done. And then you have the process engineers. So they're there, and I feel like our team does a really excellent job of this, but they're there to kind of support and make sure that the shift supervisor and the operators have the tools necessary to make sure that it gets done, fast, efficient, safely, things like that. We really rely on our process engineers to just kind of make the day-to-day lives of our operators and our shift supervisors easier. And that's kind of their role in the game. So you have to have a consistent why, so everybody's on the same page. But the roles definitely differ, and you have to change your messaging up a little bit, depending on who you're talking to, because everybody's got a job, and the key is we all work together to make sure it gets done.
Yeah, thanks for all that discussion on your leadership, John. I do like how in that last question you referenced how PEs, a lot of the people that we talk to on the YP division, they come in as PEs, and they're kind of confused on what they need to do, what their actual job title is. And I appreciate you kind of putting it out there, saying your role is really to give tools to the operators in your mill to be successful and work safely. I think that's a really hard thing for a PE to grasp right out of the gate. So a great word of advice for anybody that's listening that's maybe just starting out in their first process engineer job. So thanks again. So John, as we have now, thoroughly analyzed your leadership skills, I want to now focus what you have learned in your career that may prove useful for YPs that are currently coming through the ranks. The fourth question I have for you is one I feel like everyone asks at some point in their first leadership position. What do I do now? With that in mind, what is your advice for the first thing a YP should do in their first leadership position?
Yeah, so this is a really cool question, and I think it's a really important one. I feel like the first thing you should do is recognize that when you get hired, and even possibly before that, maybe when you're just an intern, you should believe that you are already a leader. So you don't have to wait until you're, a shift supervisor or expert process engineer or a superintendent of a machine or a fiber line or whatever your specific situation is. Day one of your job, you're a leader. And you're a leader because you have influence over somebody. It might just be one other person. It might be the interns in your area. It might be one of your coworkers. It might be a young operator, or heck, it might even be the janitor. Like it doesn't matter, but you're no doubt going to have influence over somebody else. And that already makes you a leader. So recognizing that fact is, I think, a huge step in the right direction. So then what? So you're already a leader. People are looking up to you. They're looking for you or looking to you for guidance. So what do you want to do next? And I think the answer to that is you want to work on gaining trust and respect, because that's going to expand your influence. The more that people trust you, the more people trust you, and the more they respect you, the more your influence grows, and the more weight that your thoughts and that your words have over how they conduct their operation. And the best way to do that, the how to accomplish that, is just to go talk with people. That's really it. I mean, you'd be amazed at how much trust and respect you'll gain from people just by taking the time to sit down and talking to them. And it doesn't have to do about, how fast the machine's running today, or, what the chemical charge is at the bleach plant or anything like that. In fact, I would kind of lean toward talking to them about things that they like, because they're going to open up to you more. If you find something that you have in common, that's even better, because you'll have a even smoother conversation with them. Like my the back tender that works on our machine, one of them, we really like talking about Star Wars. So we're like super pumped for the Mandalorian coming out, season 2 of the Mandalorian coming out at the end of October. So we've been talking a lot about that. But that's how you get it done. I mean, it's just developing that relationship, and with that comes the trust and respect and the influence that you gain from that. And I think that day one, that's what I would focus on as a process engineer.
Well, thanks, John, for that advice. Honestly, I believe I can even benefit from hearing your thoughts on that kind of topic. But I do want to pull out one word that really, stood out to me during that last question is respect. I've often been told that it's not the smartest person in the room that's going to be the best leader. It's not going to be the person that's the most vocal. It's going to be the one that people hold with the most amount of respect. The ones that say that even if they don't say anything at the end of a meeting, they're going to turn to and say, what do you think of this? I think that, that is developed, like you said, through building relationships. And I think your target shouldn't be the smartest in the room. You have that technical experience already, but it's, how do you garner the respect of the individuals that are, right below you? As we wind down to our final question of this Q&A session, I have one last question to determine just a little bit more of what your secret leadership recipe looks like, John. So question 5 is, being almost done with your YP life, what do you wish you would have practiced doing earlier in life that you are just now picking up?
I think that's the first time someone's told me that I was mostly done with my YP life, so that kind of scared me a little bit.
Gotta accept it sometimes.
That's true. That's true, I guess. I would say probably reading and listening. Well, reading / listening to audiobooks. I guess you can't read an audiobook. I've got like a 45-minute drive to work every day. So 45 minutes to work, 45 minutes from work. And I would not trade those 45 minutes for anything on earth. I don't want it to be longer. I also don't want it to be shorter, because to me, that time that I get by myself at the beginning and the end of my day is a lot of where I feel like my professional development comes from. My only wish is I wish I would have started it sooner. I went a good probably 2 or 3 years with a Sirius XM subscription, and I listened to the news. And oh my goodness, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be scarred for life for listening to the news for, especially in the most recent 2 to 3 years. But I kind of got away from that and started listening to some podcasts, but really audiobooks and stuff like that. I've always heard the term readers are leaders, or leaders are readers, and things like that. But unfortunately, I'm not a reader. It takes me, months to read a book. So audiobooks were really a breath of fresh air, because I can listen a whole lot quicker than I can read. And again, I've got that 45 minutes, to and from work that I can spend my time doing that. So that's been a really big developmental tool for myself. I mean, now I get to the point where I listen to a book and then I'll go out and buy it at a bookstore or something like that, so I can go back and underline all the parts that I really liked, and sometimes share that with other people. So that I would say is definitely something that I wish I would have taken up a little bit sooner in my life. But to kind of expand on that, I would really just encourage anybody listening just to develop a good habit, a habit of something that will strengthen one of your skills or abilities that you want to acquire. And it doesn't have to be work related. I mean, you need to be a well-rounded person. So if you want to learn how to, play an instrument, learn how to play an instrument. But developing good habits to increase your skills or abilities, I think is just something better to pick up sooner in life than older, when you're almost completely done with your YP life.
Well, once again, John, the TAPPI YP division, and especially myself, would like to extend our thanks to you for all the time you've given us these past few months, just so we can learn a little bit more about you. For all of you YPs out there right now, I would also like to take this time to encourage you to look at becoming a member of TAPPI and joining the YP division, all at a very healthy discount, I might add. We thank you again for listening to these videos, and we hope to see you at one of our TAPPI events sometime very soon.